Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Expensive Coins History channel. Most people ignore old coins, but collectors are paying up to $124,000 for some of them. Today, we are revealing the top 2 Lincoln pennies that could change your life. Before we go any further, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and stay with me until the very end, because what you are about to hear might completely change the way you look at the coins in your pocket, your drawer, or even that old jar sitting quietly in your home. Because sometimes, value doesn't announce itself. It hides. It waits. And it depends on one thing, whether someone is paying attention. Now imagine this. You're holding a simple 1-cent coin. It feels ordinary. It looks familiar. You've probably seen thousands just like it. Maybe you've even spent them without a second thought. But what if one of those coins wasn't ordinary at all? What if it carried a hidden story, a rare detail, a small imperfection that quietly turned it into something collectors would fight over? That's exactly where our journey begins today, with the 1978 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, nothing about this coin seems unusual. It was produced in massive numbers at the Denver Mint, entering circulation during a time when pennies were still an everyday part of life. People used them constantly, buying, saving, counting, stacking. The world was moving fast, and coins like this were simply tools of daily exchange. No one stopped to think that decades later, certain examples of this same coin would be looked at very differently. Because here's the truth most people never realize. Mass production does not guarantee uniformity. In fact, the faster something is made, the more likely small variations begin to appear. And in the world of coin collecting, those small variations can become everything. The 1978 D penny is a perfect example of this quiet transformation. Over time, collectors began noticing that not all of these coins were created equal. Some carried subtle differences, details so small that an untrained eye would miss them instantly. But to a collector, those details stand out like a signal. It could be the sharpness of the lettering, the positioning of the mint mark, the texture of the surface, or even the way the light reflects off the coin's fields. Each of these factors plays a role in determining whether a coin remains ordinary or becomes something extraordinary. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Condition. Condition is everything. 2 identical coins, minted in the same year, from the same location, can have dramatically different values depending on how well they've been preserved. Think about what coins go through. They pass through countless hands. They scrape against other coins. They get dropped, scratched, worn down over time. Each moment leaves a mark. Each mark reduces the coin's perfection. And perfection is what collectors chase. A 1978 D penny that has survived decades without significant wear is already something special. But when you combine that level of preservation with a rare striking quality or an unusual feature, the value begins to climb rapidly. This is how an everyday coin starts to separate itself from the rest. Slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. Now imagine a collector examining hundreds of these pennies. Most are immediately set aside. Too worn, too common, nothing remarkable. But then one appears that feels different. The edges are sharper. The details are clearer. There is a kind of presence to the coin, something that signals it has avoided the damage that most others couldn't escape. That's the moment everything changes. Because collectors are not just buying metal. They are buying rarity. They are buying survival. They are buying a story that very few other coins can tell. And when demand meets scarcity, value begins to rise in ways that most people never expect. But there's another layer to this story that makes the 1978 D penny even more fascinating. Time. Time has a way of filtering everything. Millions of coins were minted, but only a tiny fraction remain in high-grade condition today. Each year that passes reduces that number even further. Coins get lost. Coins get damaged. Coins disappear from circulation forever. And what remains becomes increasingly valuable, not because it was always rare, but because it became rare over time. This is one of the most powerful forces in the world of coin collecting. Delayed rarity. Something that starts as common, but slowly transforms into something scarce simply because so few examples survive in exceptional condition. The 1978 D penny sits right in the middle of that transformation. And for those who understand what to look for, it becomes more than just a coin. It becomes an opportunity. Now let's go deeper. When collectors talk about high-value pennies, they often focus on very specific characteristics. These are the details that separate a valuable coin from one that is simply old. Strike quality is one of the most important. A strong strike means the design was impressed clearly onto the coin during minting. Every line, every curve, every detail appears crisp and well-defined. A weak strike, on the other hand, results in softness, areas where the design looks faded or incomplete. For the 1978 D penny, strong strikes are highly desirable. They represent a level of precision that wasn't always consistent during mass production. Then there's luster. Luster is the way light interacts with the surface of a coin. It creates that subtle shine, almost like a glow, that indicates the coin has not been heavily circulated. Original luster is one of the first things collectors look for, because once it's gone forever. And finally, there are errors and varieties. This is where things become truly exciting. Minting errors can occur in many forms: slight misalignments, doubling in the design, or even irregularities in the metal itself. Most coins don't have these features, but the ones that do immediately stand out. And when those errors are combined with excellent condition, the value can increase dramatically. This is why the 1978 D penny has captured the attention of serious collectors. Not because every coin is valuable, but because a small number of them carry the exact combination of factors that make them rare. And those are the coins people are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for. Now think about where these coins might be today. They are not locked away in vaults or museums. Many of them are still out there, in old collections, in forgotten boxes, in jars filled with loose change, even in circulation, waiting to be recognized. That's what makes this story so compelling. The idea that something incredibly valuable could be sitting unnoticed simply because no one has taken the time to look closely. And this brings us to a very important realization. The difference between an ordinary person and a collector is not luck. It's awareness. Collectors train themselves to see what others ignore. They slow down. They observe. They question what they are holding. And sometimes, that simple shift in perspective leads to discoveries that feel almost unbelievable. The 1978 D penny is one of those coins that rewards that kind of attention. It doesn't reveal its secrets easily. It doesn't stand out at first glance. But for those who take the time to truly examine it, the potential is there. Quiet. Hidden. Waiting. Now imagine going through your own coins tonight. Not quickly. Not carelessly. But with focus. Looking at each one as if it might be different. Because one of them just might be. And that possibility alone is enough to change everything. This is where the journey of collecting begins, not with certainty, but with curiosity. And the more you learn, the more you start to see patterns, differences, details that once seemed invisible. Until one day, you pick up a coin and realize, this one is not like the others. And that moment is what makes all the difference. This is only the beginning. Because the second coin we are about to explore takes this idea even further, connecting history, rarity, and collector demand in a way that becomes even more powerful. Now imagine this. A different year, a different moment in history, but the same quiet possibility that something ordinary could be hiding something extraordinary. Because before collectors ever began paying serious attention to the 1976 D Lincoln 1-cent penny, it was just another coin moving through everyday life. But 1976 was not just any year. It was the year of celebration. The United States was marking 200 years since independence, a moment filled with national pride, reflection, and historical awareness. Special coins were being produced to honor that milestone. And while most people focused on the obvious commemoratives, something else was happening quietly in the background. The regular Lincoln penny continued to be minted, unnoticed, uncelebrated. And yet, within that ordinary production, something remarkable was taking shape. The 1976 D penny. At first glance, just like the 1978 D, it appears completely standard. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. The same inscriptions. The same copper tone that defined pennies of that era. Nothing about it demands attention. And that is exactly why so many people missed it. Because value doesn't always live in what stands out. Sometimes, it lives in what blends in perfectly. Now think about this carefully. During a year of national celebration, the focus of collectors shifted heavily toward bicentennial designs. Quarters, half dollars, and dollars were being saved in large numbers because people believed those were the coins that mattered. But pennies? Pennies were ignored. They continued circulating heavily, used in daily transactions, rarely set aside, and almost never preserved in high-grade condition. This created a very interesting situation. While millions of 1976 pennies were produced, very few were kept in pristine condition. And that is where the foundation of rarity begins. Not in how many were made, but in how many survived without damage. Now let's go deeper into what makes this coin so important. Just like with the 1978 penny, condition plays a critical role. But with the 1976 that importance is even more amplified because of how widely it circulated during such a busy economic and cultural period. Coins were constantly moving, constantly exchanging hands, constantly being worn down. So when a 1976 penny appears today with sharp details, strong luster, and minimal signs of wear, it immediately stands apart. It becomes something unusual, something that should not have survived the way it did. And that's exactly what collectors look for. But there's more. The 1976 penny also carries the potential for subtle minting variations and errors, small differences that occurred during production. These variations are not always obvious, and in many cases, they require careful inspection to identify. But once discovered, they transform the coin completely, because now it is no longer just a well-preserved example. It is a rare variation within a limited group, and rarity within rarity is where values begin to rise sharply. Now imagine a collector sitting at a table, examining a group of pennies. Most are quickly dismissed. Too worn, too common, nothing worth a second look. But then one coin catches the light differently. There is a sharpness to Lincoln's profile. The lettering appears stronger, more defined. The surface reflects light in a way that suggests it has been protected from the wear that most coins couldn't avoid. That's the moment the collector pauses, looks closer, and begins to realize that this coin might be something more. That moment is where value is discovered, because coins like the 1976 were never meant to be rare. They became rare because of time, circumstance, and human behavior. People didn't save them. People didn't protect them. People didn't think they would matter. And that is exactly why the few surviving high-quality examples matter so much today. This is one of the most powerful ideas in coin collecting. The concept that value is often created not by intention, but by neglect. What people ignore today can become highly desirable tomorrow. And the 1976 penny is a perfect example of that transformation. Now let's connect everything together. You've seen how the 1978 penny carries hidden potential through condition, strike quality, and subtle variations. You've seen how the 1976 penny gains its strength from historical context, heavy circulation, and the scarcity of well-preserved examples. Individually, each coin tells a powerful story, but together, they reveal something even bigger. They show how ordinary objects can quietly become extraordinary over time. They show how value is not always obvious in the moment. And they show how awareness can turn something overlooked into something life-changing. Now think about your own situation. How many coins have passed through your hands without a second thought? How many are sitting somewhere right now, waiting to be looked at more carefully? Because here's the truth. Opportunities like this don't announce themselves loudly. They don't come with warnings or labels. They exist quietly, waiting for someone to notice. And the people who notice are the ones who benefit. Now we come to the moment that brings everything into focus. The value. When collectors talk about the highest-end examples of these coins, those rare pieces that combine exceptional condition, strong strike quality, and desirable characteristics, the numbers begin to reach levels that most people never expect from a simple penny. For the 1978 Lincoln 1-cent penny, top-tier examples have reached values around $114,000. And for the 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny, the most exceptional specimens have climbed even higher, reaching around $124,000. Take a moment to think about that. Two coins, both originally worth just 1 cent, now potentially worth more than what many people earn in years. And yet, they still look almost identical to the pennies most people ignore every single day. That contrast is what makes this story so powerful. because it reminds us that value is not always visible. Sometimes it has to be discovered. So the next time you come across a penny, don't rush past it. Don't assume it's just another coin. Take a closer look. Pay attention to the details. Because one small difference, one rare feature, one well-preserved surface, could be the thing that changes everything. And if you've made it this far, make sure you're subscribed, because stories like this are happening all the time. And the next one we reveal might be even more surprising than this. Now the question is simple. Are you ready to start looking at your coins differently?